Hi everyone, Pierre from Into Fly Fishing, and in the vise today we've got a fly called the red tag. It's an excellent Euro nymphing fly, and it's also featured in our 10 best Euro nymphing flies video. If you want to learn more about the best Euro nymphing flies, be sure to check out that video. You can find the video link in the description below. This fly tying tutorial is brought to you by Vixen. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and check the links in the video description to see our full hands-on video of the new fly fishing waste pack. It has a removable foam fly insert so that you can store flies safely while you're out on the river. The tools you need to tie the red tag is a vise. It's not necessary for a rotary vise as we won't be using this function. A bobbin holder for your thread. I'm actually using two because I use a spooled tinsel for the body. A pair of scissors, a paper clamp to work with a CDC, whip finishing tool. Also always helps to have a bodkin at hand, and if you're not using black thread, a black permanent marker comes handy as well. For the hook, I'm using a Moosh Fly Fishing wide gape jig. This is the model 6438 in the size 16. Any jig style nymph hook would work perfectly. The first step is to slide the bead onto the hook. Here I'm using a 3mm tungsten bead in the color copper, and you want to slide the bead onto the hook point with a small opening first. Then secure the hook between the jaws of your vise, clamp them so that they're secured solidly, and then what you want to do is just slide the bead so it sits up against the hook eye. For thread, I'm using Griffith Shear 14-0, but I'm using a color cinnamon. This is the only color that I have available, and the thread splits very nice, so I want to make use of this thread. That's why we're using the permanent marker later on when we whip finish the fly. Just secure the thread right behind the bead, and once it's secured you can cut off or break off the excess. Now what we want to do is push forward this bead so it sits in place, and we're building a thread dam right behind the bead. Once you see your thread start slipping, just wind the thread back and go up again. Now you'll see the bead is pretty secure. We'll secure it further when we apply the CDC and the collar dubbing area. Now wind your thread back. Open the thread by spinning your bobbin holder counterclockwise, and lay a thread foundation over the straight part of the hook shank. The red tag part of the fly can be made from various materials. Here I'm using Danville's 210 denier flat waxed in a color. It's almost like a fluorescent red color. I just cut off a section, fold it in half, and I fold that doubled up section around the thread, so, and I secure it right on top of the hook shank. And now what we do is we run our thread over it, make sure that it doesn't slip around the hook shank. Now take a pair of sharp scissors, and we want to trim it to about the length of the abdomen, maybe slightly shorter. That's perfect. What I wanted to show you by using the thread for this purpose is that sometimes you don't have the correct material as described by a specific step-by-step tutorial, and you have another material that's the right color, so this is just a way to improvise. Now you'll notice that there's a hump that was created by the thread that we tied in, and we're just going to wrap our thread to clear out that hump. Wrap the thread forward and leave it just behind the bead. Now we're going to use a body braid material from Hens. This is a buzzer body in the color black. Tie the end of this material by using a trapping wrap just behind the bead and secure it to almost where you tied in the thread tag. Now run your thread forward again and just do a whip finish and trim off your tying thread. Now take your body braid or flat tinsel and just wrap it around the shank, covering the entire abdomen area of the fly. You can leave a little gap behind the bead, as that will be where we'll tie in the CDC and the collar. Now you can reattach your thread again. And once it's secure, just cut off excess. And then secure that body material. Trim it off. So the reason why I use Griffith shear is that it's a very thin thread that is easy to split. So it works well with small flies where you want to do split thread techniques incorporating CDC into the flies. For the hackle, I'll be using one CDC feather, but I'll only be using one side of it. So to prepare the feather, just stroke and pull out all the off-colored fibers until you're left with that. Now take your paper clamp and literally clamp a tiny amount of CDC next to the stem. Come in with a pair of scissors and trim them off the stem until you're left with that in the paper clamp. While we've been doing that, the thread should have opened by itself, but if it's not lying flat, just spin it counterclockwise, and then the thread will open and it will be much easier to split it. Now split the thread by using the point of a sharp pair of scissors. Take the paper clamp and place the CDC fibers right between the two strands of thread. Remove your finger and open the paper clamp. Now you've transferred the CDC fibers in between the thread. Now lay the thread over your finger, creating a 90-degree angle between the bobbin that's hanging here downwards and the fly. Now spin the bobbin clockwise again to spin the thread up, which will obviously then spin the CDC, creating the hackle. Here I just have a fiber of thread that I just want to remove, and that's fine. Now what we do is just wrap the CDC around the shank, pulling the fibers back, almost palming them back. And that's the hackle. For the dubbing, I'm using a very thin dry fly dubbing material. Take a very small amount and create a very slender dubbing needle. Have too much on here. That's all you need. Stroke back all the fibers. Just create a little collar behind the bead. Now, because my thread is cinnamon colored and not black, I'm just going to use a permanent marker, color the thread, take my whip finishing tool, but in this case I'm going to use my hands and just do a 3 or a 4 turn whip finish. I'm going to do another one just for security. And trim off the thread. And there you have it, the completed red tag. I hope that you found this tying tutorial helpful, and if you did, please subscribe to our channel and turn on the notifications, then we can let you know as soon as we release any future tying tutorials. Until next time, cheers.